Stop going on business trips. Right now.
What? What are you talking about? If I did that, it would inconvenience a lot of people.
So, it's okay to inconvenience me? You think dumping all the housework on me is fine?
I never said that. Plus, you barely do any housework when I'm away.
Shut up! How many times do I have to tell you not to talk back to me?
Anyway, I have to go on these trips. It would cause problems at work if I didn't.
If that's the case, then we're getting a divorce.
Again, with this talk. He hasn't changed at all. I'm Miranda, a 30-year-old company employee. I met my husband, Justin, at work. He was the representative for one of our clients. Our relationship started after he invited me to dinner following a meeting. After 5 years of dating, we got married. I learned halfway through our relationship that he was the only son of a company president. It didn't really matter to me, but it seemed important to him. He said most women change their attitude when they learn he's the president's son, often asking for more. But I didn't change how I acted, which made him think I was the right person for him. Him being the president's son actually complicated things for me. Since he was destined to be the next president, I had to quit my job and work at his company to better understand the business. It was hard to leave the job I had for 8 years, but I decided to join my husband's company and worked hard to learn everything. I didn't want to be seen as incompetent, especially as the future president's wife. So, I took on work proactively, even doing overtime. This made me popular with my superiors and colleagues, and I started to enjoy my work more. However, Justin didn't seem too happy about it. I'm home.
Welcome back. Working late again. Huh.
Yeah, it was another busy day. We're in different departments, but I'll have to learn all parts of the business eventually. We might end up working together at some point.
Haven't you been working overtime a bit too much?
Yeah, but everyone's swamped. I can't just leave early.
You really don't understand, do you?
What do you mean?
You'll be taken for granted.
By whom?
By the people at the company.
I was confused. How does working overtime together lead to being taken for granted?
You're going to be the president's wife. It looks bad for someone like you to be doing grunt work with everyone else.
Why? I think it's a good thing.
It's about maintaining your dignity.
I don't see your point.
Come on, you should understand that.
Why are you getting so upset?
I'm not upset. Just come home earlier. I'm starving. Make dinner.
He slammed the door and went to his room. I couldn't figure out why he was so angry. The better I did at work, the colder he became.
Why are you working so hard?
As the future president's wife, I need to work extra hard to learn the job.
You don't need to do all that. Just being the president's wife is enough.
I disagree. Then, why did your dad tell me to work for his company?
That's just a front for the other employees. Neither of us need to work that hard. Your main job should be taking care of the house.
I was annoyed by his words. I do prioritize work, but I don't neglect our home. I take care of all the cleaning and cooking. Meanwhile, he gets home earlier than me and does nothing. He leaves his shoes and trash everywhere, like a spoiled child. You can tell how he was raised. It's exhausting to handle all the housework after a long day at work, and our arguments kept increasing.
Why can't you just do what you're told? Stop working overtime and come home earlier.
Everyone's working hard. I can't just slack off.
Is your department full of people who can't do their jobs? Maybe they're intentionally slow to get more overtime pay.
What? That's ridiculous. Everyone's working diligently.
Whose side are you on? Mine or coworkers?
It's not about taking sides. You're saying things that aren't true, and I'm just setting the record straight.
If you dislike me that much, let's get a divorce.
Don't talk about divorce so lightly.
You'd be in trouble if I divorced you. But remember, you're the one who made me angry.
He said that, and again, retreated to his room. It was the first time he mentioned divorce, so I was taken aback and didn't respond well. Eventually, the fight didn't lead to divorce, thanks to the intervention of my in-laws. But I was genuinely worried about whether I could continue being married to such a hysterical man. My patience was nearly at its limit. After a busy period at work, I had fewer overtime hours, and my husband was quieter. But then, as I started traveling more for business due to a new project, I had to be away from home for 3 to 4 days a month, sometimes even a week. During these times, he was home alone, and he began to complain about my trips.
Why do you have to go on so many business trips?
I can't help it. It's part of my job.
You're just accompanying others, right? Smiling and nodding beside them. Why do you need to go?
What are you talking about? I'm the one in charge, and I'm the one dealing directly with the clients. I'm doing a lot of work and coordinating meetings.
Don't lie. You've been at the company for less than a year. How could someone like you be given such important tasks?
He wouldn't listen to anything I said and kept complaining about my unnecessary trips.
You just want to avoid housework. That's why you volunteered to go, right?
His accusations were too much. It was just nitpicking. Think whatever you want. I was tired of fighting head on, so I decided to let it slide. But even that seemed to irritate him, and he confronted me again.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't act or speak like that.
Oh my god. This is so annoying. Let's just end this conversation.
Annoying? What do you mean, annoying? Don't mess with me. Annoying to talk to your own husband? Don't get too cocky. You wouldn't become a president's wife if you hadn't married me. Whether your life is a success or a failure depends on me.
His outrageous statements were unbelievable. Could such a person really become the next president?
Stop going on business trips right now.
What are you talking about? If I did that, it would inconvenience a lot of people.
So, it's okay to inconvenience me? You think dumping all the housework on me is fine?
I didn't say that. Besides, you don't do any housework while I'm away. I always end up doing everything when I get back.
Shut up. How many times do I have to tell you not to talk back to me?
Anyway, I have to go on these trips. It would cause problems at work if I didn't.
If that's the case, then we're getting a divorce.
Again with this talk. He hasn't changed at all. In the end, we fought, and I went on a 3-day business trip the next day. When I returned home, I expected the house to be a mess and to receive an earful from him. I felt depressed as I unlocked the door. But when I entered, the house was as clean as when I had left. I thought my husband had cleaned it. Maybe he had finally listened to me. But my happiness was short-lived. I found a piece of paper and a note on the living room table. A divorce paper. And the note had a message from him.
This is your fault. I'm serious about divorcing. I've gone back to my parents' house. If you don't want a divorce, come and apologize.
What is this? He left divorce papers and just left. And his part was already filled out. Perfect! I was more delighted than I had been in recent times. I immediately filled out my part and submitted it to the office. With my parents' help, I moved my belongings back to my home. I had successfully left the house. Justin called a few times. He was probably impatient because I hadn't come to his parents' house yet. I ignored his calls and went to the office. I then went to see the president, my father-in-law, and afterwards, we went to his house together.
You finally showed up. Why are you ignoring my calls? What's your problem?
Exactly. How dare you act like this as a daughter-in-law? Don't get too full of yourself.
Hey. What kind of way is that to talk? Dad? Why are you here?
Why are you with her? They hadn't realized. My father-in-law, Nate, was behind me and had been rude to me.
It seems what Miranda said was true. Dad? I don't know what she told you, but she never listens to me. Right? You know it too, Dad. She's slow at work, volunteers for unnecessary business trips just to avoid housework, and does whatever she wants. Fire her from the company. Make her focus on housework at home.
His self-centered words were unbelievable. I decided to stay quiet and let Nate handle it.
Justin, you're really hopeless. Miranda has earned tremendous trust from her colleagues in the same department. She's very capable. That's why she's trusted with important business trips. But, and you? What about you? Barely working, always slacking off, harassing female employees, asking them out, causing trouble. Moreover, you leave work right at quitting time and never do overtime. I've received complaints about you, not only from your department, but from others as well. I can't let you continue to damage the company's reputation just because you're my son. It's not Miranda who should be fired. It's you. What?
Wait, what are you doing? That's too harsh. Oh, my poor Justin.
Be quiet. It's because you always coddle him that he's become so entitled. I know I'm partly to blame too. I tried to discipline him whenever necessary, but every time I did, you undid it by buying him games, clothes, whatever he wanted. That's why my lectures never sank in. If you continue to spoil him like this, you'll have to leave this house too.
That would be a problem.
Dad, what am I supposed to do if I'm fired? I can't do housework, and being a stay-at-home husband would be embarrassing. Stay-at-home husband? What are you talking about? What? Miranda has already filed the divorce papers you presented to her. What? Hey, Miranda, why did you do something like that on your own?
Oh, your note said you were serious about wanting a divorce. I felt the same way, so I filed the papers with mutual consent.
You're kidding. The one who's been joking is you. Do you have any idea how much unreasonable treatment she has endured from you? Miranda, I'm truly sorry for my foolish son.
No, Nate, it's not your fault.
The house you and Justin were living in is in my name. I'll cancel it right away. What? What am I supposed to do? I've arranged a good job for you through an acquaintance. You can go there. It's a live-in position. Really? Dad, you do care about me.
That's great, Justin.
So, what kind of job is it? It's farm work in the countryside of Texas. They're short of men, so you'll be valuable there. What? No, you're kidding. I'm a man of my word. You're leaving tomorrow. I've even booked your flight ticket. No, I don't want to go there. Then, I'll have no choice but to disown you. Wait, would you really do that to your only son? If you don't like it, go work on the farm. Don't come back until you've changed your attitude. But, Mom, say something. Help me out here.
His mother, having just been warned by her husband not to coddle her son any longer, averted her eyes, unable to offer help. In the end, my ex-husband was sent off to rural Texas the next day. The place apparently doesn't even have Wi-Fi. He's now stuck in a land with only large insects and elderly folks doing farm work from dawn to dusk. Having always relied on money and modern gadgets and chased after women, this situation must be quite tough for him. It's a true case of just deserts. As for me, I continued with my current job, working hard. I recently got a promotion and now earn more than I did at my previous job. I plan to keep working diligently, building my career and skills. On the day of my niece Emily's wedding, whom I had raised in place of her parents, my husband was in high spirits, getting ready since the morning. You seem quite cheerful. When I spoke to him, my husband glanced at me.
It's my lovely niece's wedding today. Oh yeah, you weren't invited, were you?
To my husband's sarcastic remark, I remained silent.
She doesn't like you, so don't interfere like that.
Should I attend the wedding today? When I quietly uttered those words, my husband's expression turned somewhat startled.
Are you coming without an invitation? That's outrageous.
What are you so worked up about?
Just forget it. Don't you dare come to that girl's wedding.
With those words, my husband left the house in a hurry. Upon witnessing that, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Watch closely. I will definitely send you to hell. Our revenge begins now. My name is Eileen, and I'm a 38-year-old working woman in a dual-income household. My husband's name is Wallace. He is 4 years older than me, and I met him through work. Wallace was a salesperson who frequented the company where I worked. Apparently, he found my appearance attractive, fell in love at first sight, and gave me his contact information. Feeling no harm, I started dating him. After a year of dating, Wallace proposed. The first person I shared the news with was my niece, Emily, who was 17 at the time. "Emily, he proposed to me. I think I'm getting married." "Really? Good for you, Mom." "But if that happens, I'll be leaving the house, and I might not be able to take care of you as much, Emily." "Mom, I'm already 17. Don't worry about that and just be happy." I embraced Emily, shedding tears. There's a reason why Emily calls me Mom. I've been raising her in place of my sister, who is 5 years older than me. My sister Camilla was flamboyant and uninhibited compared to my reclusive personality. Despite our similar appearances, our personalities were complete opposites. My sister immediately declared her intention to live with her boyfriend upon graduating from high school and left home, cutting off all contact. Even our parents, who run a business, had said they couldn't just abandon my sister. However, when I was 15 and my sister was 20, she returned home with a large belly. "I got pregnant. I'll give birth and raise the child here." Although our shocked parents asked for the name and the man involved, my sister could only say she didn't know. She had gotten pregnant by a man whose name and background were unknown. However, our parents couldn't abandon their daughter, so they allowed her to return home. Afterward, my sister gave birth. The newborn girl was named Emily. However, right after giving birth, my sister says something unexpected. "I can't take care of Emily because I have to go to work." Once again, both my parents and I were astonished.
"We'll take care of you for a while, so focus on childcare."
Despite my parents' announcement, my sister didn't change her opinion. "I've already decided on a job."
"You can work at our company."
My sister rejected our father's proposal. "I don't want to work for my parents' company. I want to work properly for Emily." Once those words were spoken, even my parents couldn't oppose her. My sister continued speaking. "So, Eileen, you should take care of Emily." "Huh?" "Emily can go to daycare, and Eileen can take care of her during the rest of the day." "Well then, that's that." In the end, unable to do anything, I ended up taking care of Emily. While my sister lived in the same house, she would leave in the early afternoon and return late at night, not taking care of Emily at all during that time. Therefore, with the help of my parents, I diligently raised Emily. I handled drop-offs and pickups to and from the daycare, often taking her to parks and reading her picture books. This way I managed parenting alongside my high school and college life. When Emily entered elementary school, I was a fourth-year university student. One day, on a holiday, I took her to a shopping mall. When we passed by a store that offered matching outfits for parents and children, a salesperson approached us.
"How about it? Since you're a young mother, matching outfits would suit you both."
I briefly hesitated on whether to explain that I was Emily's aunt. Then Emily spoke up. "Mom, let's buy matching clothes." "Huh? Emily, I'm your aunt, not your mom." "I've actually wanted to call you that for a long time. Is it not okay?" Certainly, joy welled up in my heart. For me, Emily had truly become like a daughter. From that moment, when it was just the two of us, Emily started calling me Mom. I cherished those times, participating in school events together and making her lunch. That's why Emily's happiness for my marriage meant the world to me. I continued with her, saying, "Next time, I'll bring my partner." "If it's someone chosen by Mom, they might become like a dad to me." "Maybe." On the day we brought Wallace to my parents' home, we welcomed him together with my parents, sister, and Emily. However, when Wallace entered the living room, he inexplicably widened his eyes and dropped the gift he brought onto the floor. "Hey, Wallace, what's wrong?" Wallace seemed to snap back to reality with a start.
I might have been a bit too nervous."
"No need to be so nervous." From there, the conversation proceeded smoothly. During the conversation, my father said to Wallace,
Ideally, I'd like a male successor for our company. If Eileen and your child happen to be a boy, we'd love for him to take over. If that doesn't happen, you might have to inherit it.
My father had traditional views, emphasizing blood ties and a male heir. That's why I chose not to join my father's company and instead found employment in a different major corporation. On the way back, Wallace had a serious expression. Don't take what my dad said too seriously, okay?
Yeah.
Wallace seemed to be contemplating something. Later, Wallace and I rented a house near my parents' home and started living together. After expressing my desire to continue being involved with Emily, he accepted her presence.
Feel free to invite Emily over any time.
Thank you, Wallace. This way, Emily started visiting our home frequently. Wallace also seemed to have a kind and positive relationship with Emily. On the other hand, my relationship with Wallace had become subtly strained since our marriage. I had expressed multiple times that I wanted to actively pursue starting a family, but Wallace avoided physical contact and our intimate life came to a halt. Creating a child is not something one person can achieve alone. Time passed in this way. I was 38 and Emily had turned 22. By then, Emily was living on her own. We hadn't met for a while and communication had become infrequent. She seemed to have a boyfriend from high school, and Emily had her own life. I felt both lonely and happy. Around that time, news of Emily's upcoming marriage reached me through my sister. It caught me off guard. I was honestly surprised. We've decided to have a wedding, but I won't invite you. Huh? I'm telling you not to come. Wallace will be invited, but you don't need to come. I was confused, not understanding the meaning. Emily is telling me not to come to her wedding, despite raising her as a mother figure? Why am I the only one not invited when Wallace is? When I conveyed this to my husband, he said,
Emily probably wants only her biological mother. Maybe she dislikes you?
There shouldn't be any reason for that.
Then why hasn't she contacted you directly? It seems like evidence of being disliked, doesn't it?
I was at a loss for words. It's true, I haven't heard from Emily, who lives alone in a distant place, for over 6 months. Has Emily truly come to dislike me?
I'll be there to see Emily in her bride's attire, so don't come to the wedding.
With emphasis, Wallace delivered this message. I couldn't sleep that day due to the shock. On a day approaching Emily's wedding, while working at the office, I received a call. To my surprise, the caller was Emily. Mom, sorry for calling you at work. Emily's voice on the phone sounded somewhat tense. What's wrong, Emily? What happened? I want to meet and talk. I'm coming there. Can we meet after you finish work? We made plans, and the call ended. Why bother calling the office when I have a cell phone? I wondered, but I was happy to meet Emily after such a long time. After finishing work, I hurried to the meeting place, and there stood a pale Emily. Emily! Mom! Emily, in tears, began to explain her situation. Mom, please listen calmly. Through our conversation, an unbelievable truth came to light. Time passed, and it was Emily's wedding day. In the morning, my husband was happily preparing. You seem to be in a good mood. When I said that, Wallace glanced at me.
It's my lovely niece's wedding today. Oh yeah, you weren't invited, were you?
I did not respond to Wallace's sarcastic comment.
She doesn't like you, so don't interfere like that.
Maybe I should attend the wedding today. When I said that quietly, my husband looked shocked.
Are you coming without an invitation? That's outrageous. That's outrageous.
What are you so worked up about?
Just forget it. Don't you dare come to that girl's wedding.
With that, Wallace left the house hastily. Inside, I felt a sense of satisfaction. Watch, I'll definitely send you to hell. Taking advantage of Wallace's departure, I changed into a dress and got ready. Opening the chapel doors with all my strength, there was the aisle. Wallace and Emily were just starting to walk down it. Several hours later, I was right in the venue for Emily's wedding.
Eileen, I told you not to come.
What's going on? Why are you walking down the aisle with Emily?
This is... Emily doesn't have a father, so I'm standing in for him.
At that moment, I decided to drop a bomb. That's not it, right? You're Emily's real father, aren't you? The next moment, Emily forcefully pushed Wallace, who was standing next to her. Wallace tumbled spectacularly to the floor. Then my sister's voice echoed. Hey, Emily, what are you doing? And Eileen, what's your intention coming here without an invitation? Don't mess up the ceremony. The wedding venue became chaotic. Even our parents were looking at us with a mix of surprise and anger. Then Emily sharply shouted, Everyone, please listen to me. The venue fell silent as if a spell was cast. Please calm down. This was discussed in advance between me, my aunt, or rather, my mom and me. We have the groom's permission as well. The groom approached Emily, who was wearing a wedding dress, and wrapped his arms around her shoulders. He nodded at both Emily and me. At that moment, our father walked towards us with a pale face.
Wait a moment. Eileen mentioned earlier that Wallace is Emily's biological father. What does that mean? I don't understand.
Emily responded to this. First, listen to this. I immediately played the voice recorder at high volume.
Well, I was surprised at first. I never thought my fiancé's sister was my ex.
I was surprised too. I really liked you back then. That's why when I got pregnant, I didn't want to cause any trouble, so I disappeared.
Hey, am I the only one you liked back then?
Even now, of course I still like you. I can't imagine being with anyone else but you, Wallace. This was an ugly conversation between my husband and sister. Wallace and my sister's faces turned pale simultaneously. The recorded conversation continued.
Looking forward to Emily's wedding.
Yes, let's send her off with her real parents.
Leave the troublemaker at home.
Even though she's a troublemaker, you can't get a divorce, right? Our relationship and the fact that you're Emily's father can't be revealed.
Yeah, and I have to inherit your father's company. That's why I didn't want to have kids with her. In the future, I'll be the president.
If that happens, let's kick out Eileen and live happily together. Saying this, the two of them laughed crudely. I stopped the playback and spoke up. As you just heard, Emily's father is my husband, who is also the uncle of the bride. They are still in a relationship. They even made plans to take over the company. Upon hearing this, all the participants turned pale. Then Emily spoke up. These two fabricated lies about us disliking each other just so they could have the wedding to themselves. They even made me delete my contacts from my phone. The revelation came to light on the day I reunited with Emily. My sister had been feeding Emily lies, claiming that I considered her a nuisance, and that's why we couldn't contact each other. Emily initially believed this manipulation. However, one day Emily overheard my sister talking to Wallace on the phone. Understanding the true nature of their relationship from the conversation, Emily contacted my company and came to meet me. Upon investigating them later, I found that their entire conversation had been recorded. Emily pointed at my sister and said, You, pretending to be a mother figure, but the one who raised me is none other than Eileen here. I've never considered you my mother, and this man could never be a father. Emily! Just as my sister tried to approach Emily, my mother slapped her.
You, neglecting your duties as a mother, burdening Eileen with everything and betraying her? You're a disgrace.
Seeing that, I too grabbed a stunned Wallace by the collar. Are you prepared as well? We're getting a divorce. You'll be paying hefty alimony.
Huh? Divorce? What about the plan for me to become the president?
This time my father shouted.
There's no way I'm letting the likes of you inherit it. Cut the nonsense.
The attendees stared at my sister and Wallace with disdain. prepare yourselves, because I'm sending both of you packing to hell." With those words, I kicked my sister and Wallace out. After the silence, Emily apologized to the attendees. "I planned this because I couldn't forgive what my parents did, and I wanted to chastise them in front of everyone. I'm sorry for showing you something unsightly. However, I still want you to participate in the ceremony." The attendees applauded Emily's decision. That's how I ended up sitting in the mother's seat where my sister had been. The ceremony resumed, and Emily read a letter to her mother, addressed to me. I cried so much that one tissue wasn't enough. Later, the divorce between Wallace and me was finalized. I successfully claimed alimony from both my sister and Wallace. My parents disowned my sister and kicked her out of the family home. I also managed to successfully get rid of Wallace. Emily, on the other hand, severed ties with both my sister and Wallace. The two of them apparently still did not part ways and began living together in a small apartment. However, their savings had long run out, and their plan for Wallace to become president had failed. They apparently have days filled with constant fighting. Two despicable people. I think they should just get along as best they can. As for me, on the other hand, after the divorce, I actually met someone and remarried right away. My new spouse has a wonderful personality and an impressive background. My father really likes him and wants him to inherit the company. What's more, to my delight, I found out about my pregnancy right after getting married. Actually, Emily was also pregnant around the same time, and we will give birth within a month of each other. Now we are mother and daughter, but we have also become like mom friends, and I see Emily frequently. From now on, I want to cherish the happiness I've gained and live positively.